hosting the show, and it's cold in the scissor. Go in the mode with them hoes like the lizards. Low G và flow, em lại bow như ngày sinh nhật. Last fight the tlinh, let them know we that
Hi everybody, my name is Jess, your go-to Street Fighter bestie, and we are here taking a look at Last Fire's Hop on the Show, a music video, dance film, and the dance practice. So I am so happy that we still have some Vietnam-based material we had the privilege of looking at together. So Fire being the representative crew of Street Woman Fighter Vietnam, and I do know some of the members are affiliated with Last Fire, hence we're taking a look, and this was probably the most requested Vietnamese-based dance material during my time watching the show. So I'm very happy to be looking at this, and I'm very thankful for dance practice, because sometimes with dance films, some things such as transitions or certain visuals do get lost in translation because of certain cinematic essences, which is absolutely fine, but definitely something that I love being able to look at a full lens and context of what we get to look at. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm assuming it just said viewer discretion advised or something.
hosting the show, and it's cold in the scissor. Go in the mode with them hoes like the lizards. Low G và flow, em lại bow như ngày sinh nhật. Last fight the tlinh, let them know we that Shawty wanna be like me, 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 Shawty wanna hit with me. I'm count 1, 2, 3, y'all gon' dance with me. So fuck your energy. Shawty wanna be in a fucking thing. I just had to say, sing the fucking sing. Last fight crew with the fucking king. Getting my real super tip.
I don't know if doing that particular activity on a sink would be comfortable, would it be? Oh, I want to be that dancer laying on a card. What's up, girl? That's not safe, but that's okay. I'm assuming that's not really happening. Oh. Ahead of their time, that's dope. Woo! Hey, nice. Dope. So I know Low G is in Last Fire, but is Our Lady tlinh or tlinh? I don't know her name very well. Oh, okay. Let's go ahead and get tatted in the MV while we're here. Oh man, now I've heard that getting like a lip tat like that doesn't hurt as bad. And I don't know who the individual was with the green hair, because I don't know if it's Low G, because Low G has black hair here. I don't know. Anti-art. Cool. Okay. I guess he's the director of Last Fire. He gives that impression just based on that photo. Cool. We're here for it. This is like a whole freaking production. Goodness gracious. Okay, so they've done stuff together. Sheesh. That was really cool. I thoroughly enjoyed that, actually. Okay, here we go. We have the official dance music video, and it is shorter, so it's probably going to exclusively be dance, or we've kind of already seen some of it because it's already in the music video. I want to be the guys in the car. Just like, yeah, we living it up. Let's go. That's so cool. This is so fun. Culture crisis. Interesting. Yeah, so I am realizing the choreo does need to be more upper body oriented because it was structured for being on vehicles. Or they modified it to that. You don't want to do heavy footwork and fall off a car. So I see the productiveness of that choice. I like her tone. It's feminine and petty. Yeah. Okay. I like the triple on that. It's cool. Cool. I like the practicality of venues, like how they mesh well together. Because sometimes, you know, when you get music videos, the venues don't vibe, but these do. Like industrial factory, and then outside of it in the parking lot. It's dope. Like, come on, suspend a car. Like, that's dope. This is a dope section too. And it also is fun when you have your artists can vibe on par with the dancers. It's always nice to see, but I also know at least one of them was in it, or he's still in it. So there's that. It's like such an earworm. That's dope. That's cool. We're here for that. Yeah, that's cool. Dude, dope. I will say I'm hopeful that the dance practice is a little bit more clear, because that would be a smidgen tricky to really like dive and scoop up a lot of things because of just some of the camera shots, but it's still really, really cool. I hope they keep some of them in the dance practice, because that's what it was intended for. It's not intended for a fixed cam like vibe. It's meant for, like, it's not meant for a concert stage. It's meant for a music video visual, you know, like at least how it's structured. Like they would modify it, I would assume, if it's meant for concert. Like that's why you have those rehearsals, is to adjust and modify for your staging. But if you're in an abandoned park dancing on cars, like you cater to that in your camera. So I'm here for this. Let's go. Nam Nguyen. This is already different. I'm telling you, I was telling you guys, like, part of me was expecting it to simulate the performance version, but this one's more centralized to seeing the choreo. Interesting.
I just had to say xin fuck scene. Last fight crew with the fucking king. Getting my grill, super tip. Chuyện tình lắm, chịu với thần linh. Còn đôi khi là mấy em có như trọng trọng. Nếu mộng manh nhưng mà thích bay.
And then this space is recognizable. So I'm assuming, like, I find it interesting that Street Woman Fighter Vietnam showed them practicing in their own studio. That's cool. For the Mega Challenge. Okay. Cool. We recognize, I think that was our leader, a Soulfire over there. Cool. Nice. I like this structure a lot. Let's go. Nice. Cool. Fun transition. Hey, I'll take that over a basket run all day, baby. Let's go. Cool. Wow. I'm actually impressed you were able to pull that for how narrow that was, the hallway. Okay. So this right here was actually a fantastic example of what I was low-key mentioning before we even watched it. I was expecting to see this dance practice emulate and simulate what happened and went down in the performance version. They are different. Choreographically, I would say content's the same, but the structure and how it's shown is very different. So I think that's absolutely fine. So what we will probably do is deep dive on the actual choreo side here, and then we'll overview how it's structured in the video. Because I think both are really cool in their own right. I do think this one does feel more calibrated to, let's say, like a concert, where like the choreo is more unison based and you have more basic dynamics, meaning that framing to outside and inside. Your levels are more on the basics in terms of when they're entering and exiting within the phrase of content. So I am intrigued. I am intrigued on kind of uncovering all that. So from the jump here, I'm assuming this is, we have those two. The other one's just kind of doing their own little vibe. It's cute. He says, hey, sunglasses party of us. And then we have, I think that's Low G, maybe? Yeah? It's not somebody filling in for him? Yeah, Low G. That's Low G. And then they also have tlinh. If y'all can let me know if I'm saying her name like tlinh, tlinh, tlinh. I don't know. But Low G, I think I got that pretty well. Anyway, so we're starting with a march step. But I like that we're bleeding it through. We just have your basic V with 2 outliers, which is fine. That's it, sir. So I like the pull on that and how we sustain and suspend that on the tail end is really nice. Then we go into a little camel walk, which is super fun. I like the stickiness of it. It's a vibe. But notice here they're projecting more front versus it was a transition that we were seeing to help showcase an environment shift in the performance version. So it's like little things like that. I really did like the transition on the first one, but this is calibrated, I really do feel, for if they were to perform this on a music show, or if they were, like, the dancing is not your top priority as much. It's there, but it's not nearly as much of a priority here like it was in the performance version. Obviously, because the cinematic perspective on it, like dancing on cars, that's a focal point in and of itself. It's such a freaking vibe. Anyway, but, which is fine. I like the little dig into it, so I like the little arm extended and nice little accent with that little body roll to pull up. So everyone does a little party, and we're kind of vibing on whole counts, which is nothing crazy. More people have entered in the chat, super cool. And I like Last Fire, so I think this is a freaking dope tag right here. They're just like, Last Fire, super sick. Let them know, and then we have more people join in. Super cool. Hit like me, pa. So I like that choice. So when they're syncopating it ever so slightly, and he's just vibing out, which is fine. Shorty want to be like me, and then we, pa, and I like the little hit on the tail end of that, and then we do a nice little monastery from one side to the other, and then we swing it up. So you know what I mean. So that structure is ambidextrous, and then we double it nice and slow. It takes up 2 counts versus syncopated 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know what I mean? It's simpler. Simple doesn't inherently mean easy, especially if you don't naturally operate in this degree of pocket meaning like how your depth and just your vibe and flow in a track. So being in the pockets, being in the groove of the track, so it's your soul as an artist and your soul as a dancer, or just as a human, which is really cool to talk about. So I like the slide, and then he slaps it, the accent down. I like, it's not sticky, but they did rebound it really nice and crisp to hit that crash is cool. Nice, a little pickup, little tap there. And it goes, oh, I like the little petty, oh, it matches very well whenever we have tlinh come in. I really like her flow a lot, and I liked the choreo and how it was filmed for her section too. It was really cool. Dance with me, so hit it on the other shows. So F your energy is what he said. So we punch down, then we bring it up. So we have an inverted V. He's still featured in center. Nothing crazy there. And then he says I'm having sex in a sink, right? Something like that, but I guess it's in the Vietnamese. That doesn't sound fun at all. I don't know what I mean, but hey, live your life, dude. Anyway, and then hit it over, then we double, and it goes hit. So that right there, I've seen that variant, this situation. If you've watched the era of the Dougie, in the Atlanta era of the party move scene in the 2000s, that move shows up there quite often. And then you also see people do it for when they're about to do a drop too. So it's really fun seeing that here. The syncopation is really nice. Do you see what I mean? Like the phrasing of this is more complex than a lot of the monastery that we saw a couple phrases earlier. Totally fine. I appreciate the heartbeat of simplicity to complex and content that allows me to kind of redigest, recaptivate, but also focus where you want me to focus on for this dance practice. Really cool. I like the bounce on that. They have a little pas de bourrée coming out of it. I like the little subtlety with the little hinge around on the knees. We lift up, we lift, and then we have a nice range on that. And they hit it in. I like the inversion of the knees, and then we're going to frame it out. And of course, we have just a rotation. It's like a little rodeo action on that. Chest helps make that look a little bit more full. And then we brush on the knees, brush one side to the other side, and then we do a little twist on that, on the heel, and then we drop low. I like the subtlety, having 4 low, and then we have the rest high, so it creates separation between your feature and the dancers that are in the back, but you have a variety of levels, which I love. I like the speed change on that. It was nice and subtle. Super dope. Then we go boom, boom, boom. That's syncopated. You see what I mean? Like, we're not going on a whole count there. It goes boom, da down. Like, really fun. I love it when the bass is hit on that. And this kind of stuff does remind me of like a city rock. That kind of influence. You saw it a lot whenever you saw the era of Renegade and when TikTok dances really, really popped off. So it's fun to see that there. And of course, they expanded, make it a little bit more percussive right here with the arms instead of keeping it more internalized or making it a little bit more extroverted, which is cool. The pull and clap, hit that clap, it's fine. And I like that it turned into an add-on, so you had just 2 in the back, join low G, and then you have 2 more join in. And then instead of it being the same the third time, I like that we deviated, we added more people, but we still clap, but we had a different setup with the shoulder, so that was cool. And then we go shoulder, shoulder, and we end up clapping, so it's 2 one way, 2 another way, people doing subtly different directions, super fun. Then they all run away, oops, sorry. And then from there, we move on to our next little grouping. I do think they're grouping not quite the cleanest here, but I really liked how it was shot in the performance version. I think it's fine. For them to utilize the space like this and not have as big of a space as a factory, guys, like that's such a big difference. Like when you deal with a lot of people, they don't have as many people here like they did, I believe, in the Hop on the Show music video, which is fine. I think that's just something to keep in mind, is that this is naturally going to feel different. I'm assuming part of it's going to be quantity based, part of it's going to be how they have to modify and structure if they want to maintain like the camera shots in their transitions. Like, I appreciate the fact that we have this so I can actually look at the content and not have to kind of decipher from a performance version, but I'm glad we can still overview it. Do you know what I mean? So we celebrate this. This is cool. I like the vibe, and I personally wish that we saw more of this type of vibe from SoFire. I think we caught it more on the tail end of the season, but I also know some of the challenges didn't set up SoFire up for as much success because of how they had to grow as dancers, which is absolutely fine, and I love celebrating that. But that is something where I get to appreciate why why So Far was on the show. Like, we get to see the vibe that people were talking about. I see it. It's cool. It's a vibe. I like the clap, boom, with the hose, and then we set it over to the side. Now notice some people's flows are a little bit different. Some are a little bit more subtle. Some are more full. So that would be something that if that was a little bit more clean, it would really be like, yo, that's a dope gimmick on speed change. But it does feel more individualized, which is also fine. But it's fine. It goes da-da, a little pull up there. He takes it and he throws it, tosses it up, which is cool. Then he says, let him know. Pans it over. I like that this is coming across like a one take. It's such a nice vibe. And then now it's her section. It does feel very, very unison. More so to my personal preference and liking. And it is tricky to know who your feature is here. I do know she's my front and center on that. But I liked how, at least with Low G's section, it was a lot easier to know he was my feature. So, and I think it's just, because we have more dancers on this, I think that's just my note though. But I think she's not the leader of So Far, but she was in the crew, right? Yeah. So I think she's in on it, which I love. So let's actually talk about the content here. So they have the arms around, and then we hit it down to the side, and we go boom, boom. So I like that we bled through the phrase where we go and rotating those arms out, which is nice. And we go double, and then we swing, and I liked how we clock our head over to the side, which is nice. It goes hit, ba-da-da, and we take our leg. We place it first, and then we rotate by picking up on a nice little jump on that. So I like that choice. And then we go double it, which is nice on the hip, and then we pick it up. I love a petty groove like that. One, it's just fun. Like what you can do with that is really, really fun. So I like the hip that gets accented and how they build it, taking it to the head. And then they said, come on, let's go. And then they push it over, which is also nice. I like this choice personally. I wish, for the dance practice at least, that we got to see something of a contrast in framing like this earlier. But also, once again, this is really fun. Like just the fact that you have artists that came from a crew and they just have a crew of dancers that they can just use, and they're familiar with the vibe and flow that they want to operate in. That is such a blessing. Like, a lot of people don't have that, and so I really love the fact that I can sense the familiarity and the camaraderie that exists here. This is fire. Like, this is freaking fire. Come on now. So I like the brush on that. So they keep it there and then they brush it back. I like her vibe on that. They go to the inside. I like that they all have their moment, boom, boom. And then we go into a diagonal, which is cool. And then you have a nice little twerking moment. You get with us, and then we go pop. So I normally see it swing a little bit more, and I think they swung it on the performance version. I mean, we'll double check that, but yeah. So go us, get with us, boom. Oh, some of them do, like, very cleanly. It could just be vantage point that we're given. And then she hits it over to the side and over to the side. Normally with this, I see the hips really pull and the body is secondary. And I do think with my feature in that moment, hers just feels more like she's shifting the whole weight over and not making it this huge legato moment that it could be. But that's just an interesting choice. I don't think she needs to fix it. I'm just used to seeing with that boom and boom. I see it just as petty as some of the other grooves. It does feel a little bit more subdued, but I'm just going to chalk it up to that's just your preference of movement. Nothing crazy there, right? And then she has some subtlety. They're all facing the back, and then they go down. It goes da da da. So they hit. I like that, and then they choose to keep it the same. Some of our girls didn't quite make it to the ground. I think something happened. So I like that she just taps the ground. Oh, she just hits it, and then she has to modify. So I would say that could always be like an improvement, is everybody, hitting it at the same time. But I'm assuming all the way up until this point, it is a one take, it feels, for the first minute 40. So I think that's a pick your battle thing. That's whatever. So dance practice is not the official performance version. Whatever, that's fine. And they rotate it over. So I like the head whip on that is cool. And they bounce it down. So the walk is nice. 3, 4. So the hit, and which is fun. So you have a group of 5, and then a 2 and a 2. So it is it's pretty decent on being able to still clock her as feature. Yes, she's wearing a different fit, but you always want to look at choreo if you're going off of a dance practice. Even though I do know the priority for a lot of it was the camera shots and how it was shot, but because they modified the the structure and composition of it here, I am going to clock it as that. The spacing here is pretty nice. So we can pretty decently still clock her here because of that spacing. And you see that there's others that are pretty equally spaced, but there's an abnormal spacing between my dancer here and then with her. So that's why, to me, it's like a natural assumption that she would be your feature. But I always come from the lens on, you never want to assume that somebody's featured just because of their mouth moving or because of them looking at you and talking. It needs to be the structure of the formation and the levels, if you choose to have it, your dynamics, how you're framing that individual. Make your audience, make it like the easiest thing in the world for them to see who you want them to see. You don't want them to work too hard on it, but that's also the beauty of having cameras, be able to make the shots without having to let your choreography have to do all the grunt work. So that's why for me, I'm kind of like, as much as preferentially I would love to see more feature opportunities where it's very clear that she's your feature, not just because it's her section. I'm not really that over, like, that doesn't bother me, because in the performance version it was no questions asked on who was in that position, which is super cool. Anyway, but I like that hit over call, that fire crew. I like the triple on the feet, which is nice, and we dig it in and they hit, boom, and hit. So I like we drop it down. I like the accent of the chest, hitting it more on the hips, and then we reset it and rotate it, boom, boom, boom. They have the ah. Now the ah, I can't even hit it that high. I think that was really fun. And I like that they at least recognized it here. I think that was cool. And then we hit 1, 2, and 3. Nice syncopation with the leg and traveling it over the side, which is really fun. And then go hit and hit with the arms. And then we lift the arms up from there. And then with nice little tap. So we're catering our weight more towards the front on that part. And we triple it. And I like the triple base on that, using the head to help reset that. And then we subtle rotate. And then we accent with that shoulder. So I like the fact that we like swung low and then we traveled the energy up at the top of the shoulder, which is really nice. And then from there, I really like that we have our 2 and our 2. Like, this is a good example of your feature still clocked because everybody around her is moving except for her. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I wanted more of that in that section that she had in her intro. But that's literally whatever, and you don't have to do that. Like, it's totally fine. It was shot fantastically. It looks awesome. Anyway, so these groups kind of stay where they were. I do think my outside girls moved up just a smidge. Then everybody here that was in that group of 5, they all went wee right behind her, which we're here for. Come on now. And I like that subtlety, nice little walk. So I like the little lean back on it, is always fun to see. And then nice subtlety on this too. Now, of course, the camera, she's the only one in her shots. It was very clear who my person that's featured is. So I had the little dee. So I like the subtlety, that sound that we're hearing. We're clocking that, which is nice. With the shoulders. We rotate it over. It does look like she's going for a wrist ISO of some kind, so hitting from one side to the other. So I'm assuming this is your fixed point, and then you wanted your wrist to make it a moment. I could be wrong. I think that's what she was going for. Yeah, so that would be my note to her, is to kind of refine that so it's very clear, but it's clear enough, so we'll give it to her. So I like the hit over, boom, boom. So I like the clocking of the chest, and they triple it, do, into just a little nay situation. Then we vary it up, nice little clap to accent with the shoulder, dropping it back down. They I love that choice. Little boom, boom. It's just a vibe. And then we pick it up, and then we have it facing the back. I like how she goes, brush her hip, and everyone said, let me pull it up real quick. Come on now. Nice little pop. And then I think this is technically our first cut, which very impressive for 212. Hitting it in one take like that is really dope. And then it makes logistic sense why we had to cut it, because getting it from that spot to this is just not practical. So I really like the fact that we have it's very narrow in the space, but you notice how deep, like it's very wide if you're facing the mirror, but it's very deep. So they need that depth to get everybody, but they really don't have as much room as you think they do. And this is still technically a modification because they don't have that industrial spot, right, where you could spread out and like lay on the floor if you wanted to, right? So this is cool. I love this. I think this is probably my favorite section of the whole thing in the dance practice sense, because you get to see more dynamics. There's more people. So there is a chance that everybody that is in the music video is here. I could be so wrong though, but it didn't give that impression in the dance practice, but it also could in the earlier sets, but it could just be, you know, because of how it was filmed, they were cut in between big numbers, little numbers, so it could just be me and my assumption, so my apologies for that. This is still freaking dope nonetheless. So I like how we all expand in opposition. The fact that she's not moving, who do you naturally clock to? her. You see the collectiveness peripherally of everybody moving and syncopating, and she is nice and subtle. That's the kind of stuff I love to see. That's probably why from the jump of this section, it's very clear who you want me to focus on. She's your artist, she's eating and living, and our dancers are there providing extra environmental justification for the vibes. It's cool. The little head is cool. They go hit, hit, and I like that we take it and we go the opposite to the other side, and then we dig in. And there's a subtle head ISO on that too, which is really nice, and that gives that little, it's not seductive, but a little animalistic focus, which is really cool, and it makes me be very captivated in the space. And they hit and then do a little 3-step turn, and then the opposition, we have every other up and then down. Then you have Low G joining the chat, and he's deviating. He's not doing what everybody else is doing, but I would say tlinh is doing what they're doing because I don't see her anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's cool. We're naturally focused on him because he's the only one not doing what everyone is doing, which is cool. So I like the little bedrock, little march step that they're doing right there. It's fun. Then they bring it to the front. Come on now. So they go out, swing. Ha. So this is really fun. Good unison here. Boom. Ta, 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 ta. Hit. So right there on the sound. I like the framing of this right over the head is really nice. We dip it down, and then we hit it over for one side with the chest, and we rotate it down. I like the step with the slide. Hit, step back, and hit. And then we hit the ground, which is also nice. So if you see people like hit the ground, sometimes you see that in a kid in play. That's not really what they did at all. But I like that we had that familiarity of, you may have seen that kind of drop before. That could be where. It's cool. So then I like the subtlety and big it up. And then we're separating our arms. And then we're bringing it to our hips. It goes, wait to love me like I love you now. Wait. It's just, that's a trend that's going on in my neck of the woods. I don't know if it's trending where you are, but that's fun. I love seeing that move there. And then they hit it like the notice they clock that on the balls of the feet with the feet, and then they go like left, right, and then they go the other side. I like the actual tap of the heels before they drop it down, and then from there I like a little breaking influence on that little accent with the hinge. And they go double, boom, and then it's not a basket run, we're just running. Come on now. And then she slowly comes up. I love her moment there. She branches it up and around. And then I like that everybody is complimenting what she's doing in center, but we still see her as center because everybody's framing around her. This is the kind of stuff I love to see, and this is what I wish I saw more of in Low G's and tlinh sections. I think that's just my general note because they can do it because they just showed us, right? And you don't need the numbers to do it. It's just about how you structure it. So that's like my only thing, my only like wish on that for the dance practice. They have their moment. So from here, everybody being able to do that in the space is very impressive because of just the space, just sheer spacing. Because I could see it very quickly turning into my inside circle, taking out the outside circle because their heads are really close to their feet and they really can't control where those feet are going sometimes. So they're the only two up, which is cool. They all come up, nice little body roll to reset. It said boom. So it's last fire. That's cool. So I love that. They finish it out. So when it comes to just the content, I think it's dope. It matched the vibe of the track very well. I think the formations, some of them are cool. Like that last section was freaking sick. But the beginning and tlinh sections, I do think those were shown, at least structurally and transition-wise, more effectively in the performance version. So we're going to go back and let's actually talk about it right here. Which is absolutely fine. I'm allowed to have that preference. But you don't have to agree with me. That's absolutely fine. They didn't ask me for my opinion, and that's fine. But I do know a lot of you guys wanted me to watch this, and so that's why we're watching it. And I like the fact that we get to still celebrate and just look at crews and their success, and this is just really cool. I just like the vibe of it, and I like the little spotlight as it travels over, you know? It's dope. So just kind of overview here, because we've already talked about the content. So all the way from the jump, we use the car. Do you see what I mean? Like, I love the phrasing of this so much in how they transitioned it. It's just really great environmental, like our cars moving, the car creates a really dope just kind of speed visual for them, because when we associate cars we think of speed, like you go faster than a human, so seeing it be slow and then it accelerate away, it's literally like we've entered into a scene in a movie, right? I really love how it saturates and allows me time into the music video in the way that it has. So that's probably why I preferred this all as a functional transition step, but this is not practical to do in the dance practice space on top of all the other sections that they had to do in the dance practice room for the one take. So that's why I totally understand that and I get that, but I'm really vibing on the transitions on this, or how they chose to transition it out, right? So I like the steps on that. It's cool. And all is just like a little one take. Let's go. Boom, boom. And how she goes away. And then from there, they cut it to the next spot. And that's really cool. And so all this, not really doing it And then you have more dancers doing it in the studio space. Here, having some of them just kind of be standing around and all the vibes. Nothing crazy there. And then pulling it into it ends up we got a V. So we have just different dancers and different, I mean, same fits, but different vibes coming in, right? Thick up there. So even the formations are different. You know what I mean? And that's life. And then all of this here looks freaking dope on... It just looks really cool in the cars. So, like, I am curious, did they choreograph this with the intention on we're going to be dancing on cars? Or did they choreograph it just in a way and then they just experimentally were like, yo, go do that on the car? Like, I'm curious about that conversation. But all this here, it's fine seeing because of the cinematic pan back that we're getting, right? Because we're allowed to still see people. And there's an extra dynamic in play where we're showcasing and we're seeing the formation in a different light than if it was just a fixed cam. So we got to keep that in mind too, which is why unison a lot of times does work better in a cinematic perspective like this because you're able to go with more clear cinematic shots like this in comparison to like, creating more complexity, that's just a bigger liability on getting it right on set. Like that's like I understand the checks and balances of it. So you read it out to the inside. I like the rotation around is nice. And it just feels like there's just more people here. Do you know what I mean? But also look at how freaking big the space is. You can have more people do it. It does feel a bit clumped, and I wonder if that's what they were going for. That's absolutely fine. But I love that you have the big group, and then they pan over to the side with him. Like, that's really cool. And also you have the natural levels built in, not from them just in the space, but they're on things. Like, they're on a stool, they're on a stair. So I understand there's a lot of environmental factors that placate to the levels that are represented in this choreo in comparison to what they were given in the studio. So I get all of that. I think it's really cool, though, that we get to see the differences and how that's probably why some of this choreo doesn't read as like, yo, that's freaking sick and ill and disgusting. Like, it's so freaking dope here. And it's just like, sometimes it just looks like choreo in the dance practice. That's okay that it feels that way. That's why we have this visual, so we can freaking vibe in it, you know? Like, the brush is cool. Pull is fine. And he's moving over. He has a contrast in color, so we naturally clock him even though everyone's in white, but they're on white cars. So that's cool. The swing is nice. No, and the scissor. The brush is cool. Yeah, so having the unison on that is fine, but also this is different than that line that he had. He only like 3 people in the dance practice, but here it's like a whole group, so it feels different, right? So it's little things like that. Quantity can really help enhance the vibe of it. The kick is cool, and it panned over. Like, guys, this little vibe right here. Just being able to do that and progress it up in a really cool visual like that, like, that's cool. No. And they had to really modify it because it is narrow in that room. Now, also, you have a lot more people in this line than you did in the dance practice, hitting it down, and then you have the go-tos there, and she's, like, in the car. She's not doing it either. So there's little details like that. I like the fact that we got to see her do it, which is right here, right? And it goes, the contrast is fine, so she doubles it right there on the percussion. The walks are nice. I like the pettiness of the rock. It looks more full on these marches with the sways of the hips on that. It's really cool. I also think their movement quality here, it looks naturally more full out, and I think part of it comes from the adrenaline of the space, being on set. You have a short amount of time to get what you need to get in, right? Time is money on sets like this. Dance practice, you can kind of take your time, okay, let's film the dance practice results, whatever. So it just depends on the environment of the space in the room and modifications and why you have it and that kind of stuff. So dig in. So this part, I mean, I can kind of give or take that kind of cut. That's whatever to me. It is hard to see what the movements they're doing is. So I think that would be, if you wanted me to really focus on the choreo, I wouldn't have made that cinematic shot. But if you wanted me to focus on the cinematic element of it, great take, because that's all I focused on for that moment. So I think that's interesting whenever you see some editing choices. Now that part that, she did both hands, everyone did one, so I naturally clocked her there. And then the separation, there's just, I really do think there's more people in this than in the dance practice. Now really looking back at it, and I think that's fine. But also we have environmental people holding cars, vibing it up and out. So they didn't have any of that in the studio, which also made it feel a little bit emptier. It could also be something like that I was picking up on. No. Little hits and folks is what they did there without the arms, and then did a little pas de bourrée with the torso. Yeah. That's fine. Da party of us. And then we have, I think that's low G in the back, right? Na 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 na. No one gets the party and clap. Boom. Bah. This little party, nice little vibe. She clocks it, the throw. Like, this is really cool. It's dark, you have the fog, everyone's partying. It's like a little mosh pit. It's a session of rebels. We're here for it, little party, little freestyle moment. So I think it's more structured, that part in the dance practice, which I really love what they did. So part of me could have totally been like, yo, seeing that here, sick. But I didn't mind what they did here because it was like an environmental vibe check that we were seeing. But here now we got the actual choreo of them doing it. So I like that, where we get to see the artists do it with them. Because they can hold it down mighty fine, but they were taking the more low G, especially the conversational side of it, of more so emulating himself as an artist more so than as a dancer, right? Which I think is totally fine. Now he's taking more of that dancer role for these little phrases. She's, for the most part, her beginning segment was more dancer role, and then she turned more performance side, and like embellishing off of what the dancers were doing in that secondary section, which I like. They're the artists, so switching between those are actually really cool elements and qualities that help me maintain captivation of you as an artist. It's cool. I love that. Swing is cool. They drop it down. Look, once again, natural levels were placed there, but if you look here, we don't have the levels, but we have all these cinematic aerial shots that really make it look cool, and you can see everyone. But the dance practice, you kind of did a little bit, but not like that. And then you have so much more room for everybody and their mama to dance out and vibe out. And then you also had the natural levels built in because you have people doing the choreo on cars, but somewhat modified, of course. They're not like really popping off on this car because they're doing some of it as much as they can. Yeah, hit ta ta ta, which is really nice. The kicks are nice. Boom, boom, nice vibe and vibe on the car, and then we're still melting. Everyone has their own little moment, which is cool. We melt, and then we pose. We're done. Last fire. I did like the LF that we saw at the end with the, hold on, it needs to be this, was it L? Oh lord, I'm mirrored right now, that's fine. Okay, yeah, it's cool. So let me actually like look at this. Artist, yeah, tlinh, 2 pills, low G, mix, composer, they compose it. Sweet, I love it. I love it whenever you have the artists like have a heavy hand in their own work, because you know there's some people who don't, and that's fine, like that's cool, but you can feel more of like an intentionality behind a lot of movement choices, or the more hands somebody has on their own stuff, the more that the choreography tends to be more collaborative and calibrated to the track is what it gives impression wise to me. But let me see, they don't even show who. Oh wait, there's more credits. I'm silly. So sorry. Okay, post, last fire crew, Logi's team. Yeah, so the dancers, choreographers. Sweet, yeah. Oh my. Yeah, let me see. Was Minga in here? I think Minga was, and it was like another girl. Bong Play Bong was in it. Yep, okay. I think I noticed her, but I didn't quite have the confidence to clock her there. Okay. Main win. No. So at least 3. I think there's at least 3 so far members in this, is what my gut tells me. But anyway, I had a lot of fun watching this, and I hope you guys did too. I mean, I think this was a long time coming, and I'm glad I waited till after the show, because I like looking at this type of material post competitions, or it's either I give the same amount of love to all the crews before a show or after. But during the show is a little bit harder because it can promote a certain degree of biasness, whether consciously or subconsciously, and also order in which we look at it too. I just like be able to look at a group in their competition era and then be able to appreciate their stuff after, having more context in that sense, right? So I'm really glad that this exists, and I'm glad that all the different facets exist so we can talk about the differences and similarities, and the fact that if you vibed with one more so than the other, or there's one that brought a certain essence and quality that you couldn't quite put your finger on, I hope I was helpful in that. And even though I was a bit constructive in certain elements, it doesn't discredit or disregard the fact that this is freaking sick, and I love the cinematic side of it. Really well done, and I think this is 10 out of 10 in the vibes and how they chose to showcase themselves as a crew. Like this was really, really dope. Y'all know me, I know you. If you want to see more like actual Street Woman Fighter time of SoFire on the show, I have a whole playlist. It'll be down below with some other little fun things. If you want access to it all early, you can go hang out there. I'm Jess. I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Bye.